Now we're going to make a delicious fruit cake, a Dundee cake.
Aha, Dundee cake.
So Dundee cakes were originally from Scotland in the 19th century and were apparently produced by the marmalade factory, Keeler's.
Well, Dundee was the home of marmalade. That's apparently where it was invented, so that makes sense.
Fantastic. This cake, it's got fruit and it's got some nuts in it. It doesn't actually have any cherries in it, so lots of fruit cakes would have done that. And apparently another Scottish legend is that Mary, Queen of Scots, didn't like glacier cherries in her cakes, so this was one of her favourites.
I hate fussy people.
So
no glacier cherries, nuts.
And lots of dried fruit and some ground almonds to keep it extra moist.
Booze?
No alcohol in it, but some lemon zest. So let's cream together our butter and sugar. So we've got lovely soft squidgy batter.
Ooh. And we're not doing this with a whisk?
No, we're not going to with this one. This isn't so much about getting the air into it. It will be quite nice and light because of the ingredients that we're putting in. But we're using a soft, light brown sugar here. We will still beat it a bit, but I don't think we need to use the whisk. And then we can use the same spoon all the way through the process.
Saves on the washing up.
Absolutely, always a good thing.
So there's no actual marmalade in this?
No, not in this version, but this is my version of Dundee cake.
Miranda's Dundee cake. I think that's, look at that.
Lovely. So we are still getting the air in, and it just shows that even with a wooden spoon, you can still make it quite pale. That looks perfect. Okay, now let's break our eggs into a bowl.
No shells?
I just think it's always worth checking. And just gently break them up with a fork. There we go. And again, we're going to add that a little at a time.
Oops. Have you ever been to Dundee?
I have actually, yes.
The city of discovery. The marmalade factory is still there.
I love your story. Tell us the story about the marmalade.
Well, supposedly all these Seville oranges either came off a ship and everyone tried to eat them, but obviously they're very bitter, so no one knew what to do with them. So one enterprising lady didn't want to see all these oranges go to waste because they were quite a rarity, so she added sugar to them and thus created the sort of first ever marmalade.
It's a good story.
Truth should never come in the way of a good story.
Okay, how's that looking? Yours looks fantastic. Just need to make sure that all the eggs are beaten in.
Yeah. It's a bit runnier than the sponge batter, but I suppose
We've got quite a lot of ingredients to add in. And we're also going to add 1 tablespoon of milk. And just mix that in. Okay, and then a teaspoon of zest, so I'll just put roughly a teaspoon. I think this makes it even lighter tasting as well and fresher.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, now we need to add in all the remaining ingredients except for the flaked almonds, so we'll just put those to one side.
So we don't need to sift the flour?
Well, we could sift it, but I never think that. I think if it's a really light and airy sponge, you need to. This is a slightly denser cake, although it is still moist and quite crumbly. I just think it doesn't need to add it. And we can add in all the other ingredients as well. So we've got sultanas. Lovely dried currants. And then we've got some ground almonds. Makes cakes last really well as well.
Really?
The ground almonds. If you add a little bit to your sponge cake, it makes it last a bit longer. And then if you want to just crush, I like adding a few walnuts. I just think it adds a sort of really homely, quite rustic texture to it. Just crush them up a little bit. And you could swap these for almonds if you preferred.
Or pecans?
Absolutely.
If you're going all Yankee. Voila.
I'm just going to add a pinch of salt. Bring out all those flavours, and then we're going to stir all of that in. So it's a really quick and simple cake, and actually it's lovely to have in the tin at home because you can keep on going back and slicing it. It lasts a couple of weeks beautifully.
I always think it's a good cake to take on picnics because it holds its shape really well.
Yeah.
So when we go walking the hills up in Scotland, we always take a slice of Dundee cake or fruit cake.
It's delicious. It's great for energy.
That probably does negate the goodness of the walk. Sitting
Lots
on the top
of
of the
good
hill,
fruit.
shoving cake in.
There we go. So once it's completely mixed, we need to scrape it into the prepared tin. And this is just lined with baking paper, greased with butter, and I've made it a little bit taller, so if the cake does rise up, it's got a little bit of support rather than it overflowing.
Does it stop the edges burning as well?
It does a little bit. If you really are concerned about the edges burning, which it shouldn't because the temperature is only going to be 170 degrees, but sometimes with fruitcakes or cakes like this, if you put brown paper around the outside and tie it with string, it just protects it a little bit.
Almost
and
like
actually,
insulating a layer.
Just a bit of protection from the sort of fierceness of the oven. What we are actually going to do is cover the top with a little bit of paper or foil, and then it just stops it burning on the top before the inside's cooked through completely.
So I'm good to just throw it in?
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of those great cakes that it's really quick to make, and then you can just pop it in the oven for a couple of hours and you don't really have to think about it. Comes out and it's all perfectly done. And we just want to smooth it down, not press it down too much, just sort of smooth it.
When do you make your Christmas cake every year?
Well, I'd love to say that I'm really organised and I always make it in sort of October, November time. But it doesn't always happen, because often what happens is I make one and then I end up giving it away to someone else, and then I have to make a rushed one just before Christmas.
I'm really pleased with that. Look.
It looks fantastic. Now we're just going to pop some nuts on top. So on traditional Dundee cake, it would often be blanched almonds in circles, but just as a quicker, sort of speedier thing, I thought we'd put some flaked almonds on top.
Just toss a few on.
Exactly. But if you want to be a bit more creative, you could arrange them perfectly. That looks lovely. Might want to just press them in a little. And they'll come out all golden and toasted on top. And one of the reasons we want to cover it with foil before it goes into the oven.
So the nuts don't burn.
So the nuts don't burn. Well done.
No one wants burnt nuts.
So what we're going to do is we're going to pop them into the preheated oven. The oven needs to be at 170 degrees with the foil on top. And then after about an hour and a half, we're going to take it out, take the foil off, pop it back in the oven for another 25 to 30 minutes. And then with fruit cake, it's often worth checking with a skewer that the skewers come out clean. Check that it's all beautifully baked.
Excellent. I can't wait to smell it.
And it will smell amazing while it's cooking.
It smells pretty good already.
Look at our Dundee cakes. Don't they look fantastic?
They do. They've got a lovely big rise on them. They're dense.
Beautifully domed.
Thank you.
And not burnt, you see?
Yeah.
Gorgeous on top, golden.
What's this?
This is so we can get it out of the tin.
Right.
So what we're going to do, we've got our lovely loose bottom tin. Just going to stand it on top and then slide the tin down.
That is so clever because I have damaged cakes in the past trying to get them out of the tin. I never even thought of that. It's quite slippy on the bottom. Oh, this is, oh yeah.
There we go.
There we go.
And then carefully.
Wow, look at that.
Looks fantastic. And then we should be able to just, it's quite a firm cake. So what we should be able to do is just, we want to slide the paper off. It looks gorgeous.
That is a cake to be proud of, people. That is a cake to be proud of. Oh, I wish you could smell this. It smells so good.
That's going to be perfect for your long walks up the mountains.
It will be. Or just sitting down with a cup of tea.
Should we try it?
Rude not to. It's definitely a lot firmer than a sponge, but it's a
much denser cake.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's great then, isn't it? You can have it for picnics in the garden or tea party in the garden or for your hill walks.
Look at that.
That looks fabulous.
Still nice and moist in the middle. I'm really pleased with that.
What do you think?
It's delicious.
Good for our afternoon tea?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try a bit.
Good cake.
That's lovely. Well done.
Thank you.